In 1994, the British Enduro Championship was going to be held over 6 rounds, but unfortunately the Melville Enduro was cancelled, so it was back to 5 rounds. And the first round, the Breckland Enduro, a different course to last year, 2 very tough days, only the best riders going clean. And what was Bob Perrin doing in the Thetford Forest? Was he looking for the hill climbs? Well, I think he was quite surprised to find that there were nearly 300 riders at this event. As usual, there were a couple of tight checks, even caught out some of the championship riders. Paul Edmondson, the world champion, was not here this weekend, so it was John Deacon who won the first day, riding a 620 KTM. And it was Rob Sartin in second place, only 3 seconds down on John. And Rob went on to win the second day, and he'd done just enough to take the Premier Award, beating John Deacon by 5 seconds overall. Round 2, the ISCA, organised by the Carleon and District Motorsports Club. The Breckford Forest was quite wet, so this was going to be another tough 2 days. Most of the riders managed to stay clean on time, but there were a few spills over the 2 days. Once again, the test was perhaps the toughest part of the course. This rider was lucky to have some help from the spectators. This rider was trying to avoid the deep ruts. Andrew Edwards thought he'd picked a good line. He wasn't the only one who got stuck. Even some of the championship riders didn't like this muddy section. The best line was straight through the middle. Clubman rider Mark Philpott was determined not to fall off in front of the cameraman. Barry Hayes was struggling on the corner. Army rider Mike Noy, based in Germany, was looking a bit tired. Another Army rider, Tony Altas, Gwyn Barraclough not getting much grip. In the clubman class, it was Andrew Edwards who took the Premier Award, and he finished second overall on both days. Andrew was riding a Suzuki 125. He was beaten on the first day by number 79, Jonty Edmonds. Jonty won both tests, but had a puncture on day 2. The runner-up over the 2 days was number 91, Keith Isaac. He was 5th on day 1, but won both of the tests on day 2. The best 250cc rider was Stuart Bridges, and he finished 5th overall in the clubman class. In the expert class, the Premier Award went to number 52, Andy Tales from Ilkley. He won the second day outright, but on day 1 he was beaten by number 40, Wayne Westwood. Wayne went on to win the 125s and finished runner-up overall on the weekend. In the championship class, Chris Bird was the best 250cc rider, and he finished 4th overall. Wyn Hughes 3rd overall, and he won both days in the open class. The runner-up here at the ISCA was A.D. Smith, and he won both days in the 125s. A.D. was riding an E.T. James Suzuki, and it was John Deacon who took the Premier Award. John riding the 620 KTM, and he won both days in the 4-stroke class. Round 3 of the series, the Dovey 2-day Enduro, taking place early in August. The weather was good this weekend, but as usual there were one or two tricky little sections.
Okay.
There was a new test this year on farmland outside of the forest, and it was quite slippery on the corners. Eddie Smith was on good form, but coming right behind him was the world champion yet again, Paul Edmondson. Paul had missed the first 2 rounds of this series, but won the World 125cc Championship yet again. Back on the new special test, some of the expert riders were having problems. That front wheel finding some of the deep holes. Chris Price kept the bike out of the rut, but then he fell in it himself. A bit of a shake-up for Brian Green. This one corner on the test caught out a few riders. That was Rowan Jones, and this is Andrew Owen. In the clubman class, Glenn Foxwell finished 3rd overall, and he was the best 250cc rider. Andrew Edwards had another very good weekend, finishing runner-up in the clubman class. The Premier Award went to the E.T. James Suzuki rider, Keith Isaac. He won both days quite convincingly. In the expert class, Lee Beresford was the best 250cc rider, and he finished 3rd overall. He won the first day and finished 3rd on day 2. The runner-up in the experts was number 45 Wayne Westward, and he won both days in the 125cc class. And the top expert was the Kawasaki rider from St. Ives, Tim Lewis. He finished the weekend just 4 seconds ahead of Westwood. With the championship riders, John Deacon won both days in the 4-stroke class and finished 4th overall. In 3rd place and the best 250cc rider was Rob Sartin. A very close finish between him and John Deacon, less than a second in it. The runner-up here at the Dovey was A.D. Smith, and he finished 2nd on both days in the 125s. And the overall winner was Paul Edmondson, and this year he was riding a Gas 125. It was very close between Paul and Adi on the first day, only a second between them. Round 4 of the series, the Raider 2-day Enduro, now for something completely different. Only 9 of the riders managed to stay clean on the going on the first day, and they were all clubman riders. The tough going was through the Wayne Forest, and all the championship riders lost time. Paul Edmondson was 8 minutes down, A.D. Smith and John Deacon 10, and everyone else worse than that. It was a good weekend for falling off. In the clubman class, the overall winner was Jonty Edmonds riding a TM 125. The top 9 clubman riders were clean on the going on both days. Andrew Edwards finished 2nd to Jonty in the 125s and runner-up overall. And finishing 3rd in the 125s was the Suzuki rider Keith Isaac. In the 250s, the winner was a local rider, David Price from Built, and he finished 3rd overall in the clubman class. Runner-up in the 250s was the Yamaha rider from Sevenoaks, Stuart Bridges. In the expert class, although Neil Highway lost 12 minutes on day one, he was the top 125cc rider. And it was Chris Price who finished runner-up in that class. In the 250s, Lee Beresford won the first day convincingly, dropping only 8 minutes. His test time's not quite so good on the second day, but he was still the overall winner in the class. And the runner-up in the 250s was Tim Lewis from St. Ives. He dropped 10 minutes on the first day. And in third place in this class was the Honda rider, Jason Fraser. All the championship riders lost time on the first day, and I think it was only Paul Edmondson who was clean on day two. A.D. Smith was 10 minutes down on the first day and 2 on the second. But he'd done enough to finish runner-up in the 125s and third overall. John Deacon finished third overall on day one, losing 10 minutes, the same as A.D. Smith. Rob Sartin, 11 minutes down on the first day, but a good second day meant that he was the clear winner in the 250s. The test times at Carmarthen Hill didn't really mean too much this weekend. Paul Edmondson was the overall winner, dropping only 8 minutes on the first day and staying clean on day two. Remember, Paul had missed the first 2 rounds of this championship series, but he'd won the Dovey and now the Raider. And only one more round to come. And the final round of the series, the Beacons 2-day Enduro, the middle of October. Although the going was tough in places, the time checks were fairly slack, so the final results were sorted out on test times. In the expert class, Wayne Westwood finished runner-up and won both days in the 125s. And the overall winner in the experts and the top 250cc rider was Tim Lewis. In the clubman class, David Price from Bilth finished runner-up on the weekend, and what a close finish, only 0.7 of a second in it. And the overall winner was number 89, Stuart Bridges. It was a good job some of the check times were slack. I did say the going was tough in places. In the championship class, John Deacon was the best 4-stroke rider on both days and finished 4th overall. In third place and the best 250cc rider was Rob Sartin. And the runner-up here at the Beacons was A.D. Smith on a Suzuki 125. Well, he was on it most of the time. And the overall winner here at the Beacons was Paul Edmondson. He won both days, but there was only 10 seconds between him and A.D. Remember, this short film is only a preview of the 1994 British Enduro Championship Series. To find out the overall winners in all the different classes, you need to watch the main film that runs for 2 hours. And once again, it only costs £15.